Hello and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. A council is under fire after it told churches they must register to conduct same-sex wedding ceremonies. Essex County Council sent a letter to churches saying that, with immediate effect, they must be licensed to conduct gay marriages. The council was forced to apologise following complaints from church leaders. Under the law, churches do not have to perform same-sex weddings, and they can't be forced to do so. Simon Calvert, spokesman for the Christian Institute, said the council needs to undergo an investigation.
Essex Council needs to do an urgent internal review to find out just how the department responsible for upholding the law on marriage could get that law so badly wrong, and they need to tell the local churches what they're doing to make sure it doesn't happen again. And of course, this incident proves the importance of churches knowing what their legal rights are. And that's why the Christian Institute has produced this guide so that churches and Christians can be sure of their rights to uphold marriage. And you know, they have every reason in the world to be confident that they can and should uphold the truth about marriage.
A spokesman for Essex County Council said that its guidance on registering a building for same-sex marriages applies only to those institutions which want to conduct such ceremonies. A letter sent to churches in April may have created a different impression, and we issued a clarification within a week explaining the correct procedure. A new poll has found that David Cameron's same-sex marriage policy could harm the Conservative Party in the local and European elections next week. Almost 3 in 10 voters say they're less likely to vote Tory because of the Prime Minister's stance on gay marriage. The policy has also irked those who voted Conservative in 2010, as 1 in 3 of those voters say they're less likely to back the Tories next week. Of the 2,000 people surveyed, 1 in 4 18 to 24-year-olds also dislike Cameron's decision to redefine marriage. Colin Hart, campaign director of the Coalition for Marriage, said, "As the Prime Minister was warned at the time, redefining marriage without any mandate from the British people and denying Parliament a real say on the plans would cost huge numbers of votes." This poll finds the policy is ensuring that the 2014 local and Euro elections will be even worse than the last year's local elections, with a scrap for second place between Labour and the Conservatives. Critics have said the new Church of England guidance to tackle homophobic bullying in its schools is unbalanced. Simon Calvert, spokesman for the Christian Institute, said the guidance mentions Stonewall more than Jesus Christ.
All bullying is evil, and church schools should be tackling it in a distinctively Christian way. All schools, of course, should be doing everything they can to tackle any kind of bullying. But this guidance seems to encourage C of E schools to subcontract their ethics to Stonewall and Channel 4, whose resources fundamentally oppose the church's teaching. In fact, it's quite striking that the guidance mentions Stonewall quite a lot more often than it mentions the Lord Jesus Christ. And I think a lot of C of E schools are just going to think that balance is entirely wrong.
The guidance, called Valuing All God's Children, was launched earlier this week by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby. Writing in the I newspaper, he admitted that one major challenge would be the complexity of combating homophobic bullying while still teaching the traditional Anglican view of marriage, especially in the light of the revolutionary change to its legal definition for the accommodation of same-sex couples. A Conservative MP has warned that dozens of doctors who pre-signed abortion forms may escape prosecution through an absurd technicality. David Burrowes said the Crown Prosecution Service could argue that doctors who approved abortions without meeting the women involved may have discussed the cases after signing the blank forms. Currently, abortions can only be approved if 2 doctors are of the opinion, formed in good faith, that at least one of the legal grounds for abortion exists. Writing in the Telegraph, Mr Burrowes said, "The improbable notion that doctors who pre-signed forms were scuttling around hospitals making sure that their illicit certifications were backed up by retrospective good faith opinions is utterly preposterous." A spokesman for the CPS told the Telegraph that there is no general policy not to prosecute doctors who pre-sign forms. Should the police investigate and refer the matter to us, we will consider cases on an individual basis. A Care Quality Commission investigation in 2012 found that 67 doctors had illegally signed blank abortion consent forms, and none have faced disciplinary action. An ex-drug dealer has said that cannabis is a gateway drug that exposes users to other people who deal in harder substances. Luke Wardle told the Christian Institute how he started out selling cannabis at 15 and ended up with a cocaine habit 4 years later. He described his personal story to the Institute's director, Colin Hart.
Around about the age of 15, I think, is when I first started to sell decent amounts. Before that, even, 13, 14, I was selling small amounts to friends.
So what sort of drugs were you dealing with in?
At first it was just cannabis, but then I started to sell a little bit of amphetamine, different types of what would be called in the street as speed. And after quite a long time of selling cannabis, I got involved in cocaine, and I started selling cocaine as well. By the time I ended up on heroin, I was so ill that I couldn't even sell anything. I couldn't even get up to go and meet people. I was just so ill.
He also told Mr. Hart how cannabis had detrimentally affected his stepbrother and why he's against liberalising it.
It's so powerful, and it can really affect people's minds and make them paranoid and schizophrenic. Actually, that happened to my stepbrother David. He had to go somewhere for special help because he just absolutely flipped.
But you don't think Nick Clegg's right on legalising cannabis?
Well, no. No.
You can catch the full interview on the Christian Institute's website. Well, that's all for this week. For more information and regular updates on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.